Okay, so what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to go see the article we wrote for the Escapees Club, the best RV club in the world. If you go to our homepage, you'll see article number 7 for the Escapees is installation of the cooling unit, but this is in PDF form. And what you'll see is, for example, on a Norcold 1200, we use the thermal mastic to help seal the freezer section and that stuff. We're going to do probably our sealing when we put in the aluminum fins. So right now I enlist the use of a helper because you really need 2 people to set the cooling unit in. So Mal, would you come and help me? Okay, so we're going to carry the cooling unit over. And what we're going to do is I'm going to align the darn thing so it sets down inside just as nicely as we can get it. And we're going to take and we'll put in our fastening screws from the back side. So we're going to come up here. We put a screw in down lower on the cooling unit to align it. And then I'm going to put a screw in here. I'm not going to tighten these screws. I'm just going to put them in so that they can hold the cooling unit in place. And I'm going to put the screw along with its washer in so that it's going to hold the cooling unit in from the back side. I'm going to go ahead and put a little thermal mastic on this screw to help seal it. The other thing you can do, you got to remember we're in the desert and we're pretty helpless because we're in the middle of nowhere and we don't have any silicone. I like to use silicone sealer, some typical automotive RTV. Okay, so what I want you to do is I want you to snug these screws down, but I don't want you to tighten them because I want you to tighten them by hand. And also what I do is I start in the center and work my way out, and that helps seat the cooling unit. It's just like you're putting a cylinder head on a car. Probably some of you have experience with doing that. Remember I said the water was getting in, and remember I said I didn't have any silicone? Well, the good thing is we get by with a little help from our friends because it turns out a fellow RVer had a tube of silicone, and I realized I had to have silicone to do this. See this surface around here? That's where the seal of the refrigerator is, this plastic. And then the screw heads. Like I said, you'll need to put a little bit of silicone around the screw head, and I'm going to put a bead of silicone actually going around this plastic right here. But when I put that bead around, I'm going to let that bead start setting up so that it skins over on the top of it before I put in the heat exchanger. Okay, so now that I've got this sitting down, I'm going to take and I'm going to set this down with my one screw. It makes it a little easier because I can look through the hole and I can point it right down at the hole, and gravity is going to be my friend. There, that's so much easier. Now, I don't have a magnetic screw holder, so sometimes it can be a challenge getting the screws between the fins. But if you use my approach, you can't go wrong. Okay, as I told you, I'm going to finish tightening these down by hand. As you can see, I went and got my extension and I got my ratchet. So these screws do not have to hold down the world. There's other forces holding the world down. So what I'm doing is I'm snugging these screws up just snugging them up. Now, I want to tell you that you want to go ahead and cycle your refrigerator a few times between, coming up to ambient temperature and refrigerating. And you want to come back here and retorque these screws. See how I'm doing this nice and slowly? As I tighten them down, it's squeezing the thermal mastic out. So sometimes, see, that one's almost loose already. So I'm going back through this pattern of tightening down the screws. So like I said, you're going to probably want to let it cycle a few times and come back and retorque the doggone things. That's another technical term, doggone. That's when your dog runs away. So I'm going to take a little bit of warm water and some soap, because we want to make sure that when we tape this, that all the dust and anything else is off of here. So I'm going to go through, I'm going to wipe this down with this sponge. We're going to take and we're going to center the tape on here, and we're going to go ahead and pull our backing up while we're laying it down nice and snug. Against here, and again, the whole idea is to lay it down so that it performs as good a seal as possible, because this tape will form a good vapor barrier as long as it's applied properly. I'm going to go ahead and cut this right here so that it lays down properly. Makes a good joint. So you got the idea. We're going to do the same thing to the other side and the top, and we're done.
The remainder of the installation is just the reverse procedure of the removal of the cooling unit components. Start by tightening the cooling unit mounting screws from the back. Then reconnect all parts that were removed. Be sure to bubble test the LP gas lines to check for leaks. Safety should always be one's first consideration. Install the fridge to fin to keep your cooling unit running safe, efficient, and reliable.